So let's try this one. F of x equals x plus 1, g of x equals 3x. Find f of g of x and g of f of x by composing the functions. So why don't you pause the video and go ahead and give this a go by yourself and see if you get the right answer. So let's try this one out. So first of all, we're looking for f of g of x. So we want to do g of x first. So this is g of x here, and we want to put the g of x into the f. So everywhere you see an x in this f here, we replace it with 3x. So therefore we can say that this f of g of x is going to equal 3x plus 1. So now we're going to look at g of f of x. So f of x is equal to x plus 1, and you're going to put that into g. So in g, everywhere you see an x, we replace it with x plus 1. So we're going to be left with g of f of x is going to equal 3 times x plus 1. Now try this one. F of x equals 2x plus 1, g of x equals 4x. Find f of g of x and g of f of x by composition of functions. So go ahead, pause the video and give this a go. So first of all, we'll look at f of g of x. So we can say that the f of g of x is going to equal, well, we do g of x first. So we take the 4x and we replace it into f. So everywhere you see an x in this f of x, we replace it with 4x. So that's going to be 2 times the 4x plus 1. So that's going to be 8x plus 1. Now we'll look at the g of f of x. So we'll have g of f of x. So we're going to do f of x first, and we're going to place it into g. So f of x is 2x plus 1. So we're going to replace this into g. So everywhere we see an x in g, we replace it with 2x plus 1. So that's going to be 4 times 2x plus 1. That's going to be 8x plus 4. So here's a more difficult one for you to try. We've got f of x is equal to 1 minus x all divided by x. Now what we want to do is find the composition of functions of f of x. So we want to take f of x and actually put it into itself. So let's start off with this. Everywhere we see an x here, we've got to replace it with 1 minus x divided by x. So that's what f of x means. So we could write then f of x is equal to, well, we're going to have 1, we're going to have minus. Now everywhere we see an x, we have to replace it with 1 minus x divided by x. So we've got 1 minus x divided by x. And that's all over the value of x. Now again, we've got to replace x with 1 minus x divided by x. So that's going to be 1 minus x divided by a value of x. So be clear what we're doing here. You can see here that we've got the 1 here which stays the same. The x now gets replaced with the original value here, which is 1 minus x upon x. And the x in the bottom line also gets replaced with 1 minus x upon x. So I'll put a little bracket around that so you can see it. So we've put this one in and this one in for the x and also the x here. So now we have to mess about with this equation to get it into its simplest form. So let's go ahead and we can do that now. So what we could do is we could multiply out the top line, so we would end up with a value of 1 minus 1 plus x, and this here would be over a value of x, and the bottom line would remain the same. We would have 1 minus x divided by a value of x. Now what we want to do is take the common denominator here for this line in the top. So what we can do is we notice that that 1 is the same as 1 divided by 1. So the common denominator is x. So we're going to have x here. And we can say, what do you do to 1 to get x? You multiply it by 1. So do the same with the top line, so you then end up with an x there. And then this line here will remain the same. That's minus 1 plus x. And that's all going to be over 1 minus x upon the value of x. So now, whenever we divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So that means this is the same as writing x. Well, we'll take the x plus x, we'll get our 2x, and we'll have our minus 1 all upon x. And we're going to multiply it by the reciprocal of this. So that's the same as saying times x upon 1 minus x. So now we can see here that x is going to cancel with the x here, and we're going to be left with our 2x minus 1 all upon 1 minus x. So I'll just write this again up here a little bit. So that's going to equal our 2x minus 1 all upon 1 minus x. And of course that's only valid whenever we say that x does not equal a value of 1. Because if x is equal to a value of 1, we would have 1 minus 1, which would be 0, and this would head off to infinity. It would be undefined. So this is our final answer here. So thank you for listening. I'll get you in the next video. Goodbye.